Okay, this is chapter 14, e-commerce, databases, and data science. Learning objectives explain the issues, pros, and cons whether to create an e-commerce website. Um, list the components of online transactions, explain what is involved in each step. List one other e-commerce model besides online retailer to selling to the general public, explain how it works. List one other electronic payment system besides traditional credit cards, explain how it works. Describe the relational database model, frame simple queries in SQL to retrieve information from one or more tables in a relational database, define data mining, list three sources data brokers use to collect data on individuals, and give an example of data science used for the greater good. The World Wide Web enables businesses to communicate with customers through advertising, follow-up support, sales to customers, sales to other businesses, non-sales transactions, statements, and bill pay. This has kind of changed. When businesses first started using it, everybody did their own thing. You wrote your own shopping cart, you wrote your own payment processing. You go through a bank, and they would have a very specific way to process the credit cards or debit cards or whatever. Um, it's evolving to where it's becoming more standardized, which is good. Um, there's payment there's payment companies that handle everything for you. You just have to know how to interface into their system. So you no longer have to go find a bank that's willing to um, give you their business. Um, Not everybody would trusted the e-commerce sites at first, and so banks you had to really shop around to find ones that would do it, or even had the technology to do it. So it keeps evolving. Now, e-commerce just generally is business conducted with the internet and via the web, including sales, advertising, and bill pay options. Um, what's a big payment? What's a big payment one that you can think of? eBay uses what? PayPal. Yeah, and used to be that they were the main ones for PayPal, but PayPal's branched out. So you see PayPal as a payment processing for a lot of people. Again, the idea there is you're not going to individual bank and getting the approval and so forth. Um, I remember way back when I came up with my first e-commerce site, I had to shop around for a bank to get approval from. Um, it was some kind of bank out in California. Couldn't find any place local that would do it. Now it's a lot more standard. Um, Setting up an organization for e-commerce can be as intensive as setting up a physical storefront. Yeah, if you depends upon which one you go with. Some of them have the storefront built in with their system, so that you just drop in your products and price, and it's all done. And then you have to ask yourself, what are you trying to do? Broaden the customer base, recapture customers lost to online competitors, serving existing customers better, integrating departments of existing business. Assuming we were an e-commerce site, we sort of are. You can purchase stuff online. Um, what's wrong with this? Broadening the customer base? Are we doing that? Um, yeah. In terms of the website, are we really doing that? Not really. Um, here's a finish with friends. We should be advertising that we're the second cheapest in Kansas. I don't think we're the cheapest anymore. Maybe that's why they don't push it. I think WSU Tech has taken the place of everybody being cheapest two-year college. Still offering a lot of the gen eds. Um, yeah, so we're not really doing that. It is. Hmm. Yeah, yeah, and they're WC Tech is a good school, but they're gonna go through some changes. That's people that are in it are probably gonna be hurt at some point. They have to, just because their model doesn't work because they're so aligned now with WSU Tech. They were the cheapest in Kansas, but if I am going to Wichita State, the main campus, I'm taking college algebra for example, paying this huge amount of WSU. What would prevent me from driving over to Webb or Greenwich or wherever their building's located at, and taking college algebra there at WSU Tech for a third of the price? Nothing. So they're going to see this mass exodus, in my opinion, of their gen eds over to WSU Tech, and they're not going to like that loss of revenue. So WSU Tech is going to one or two things I think is going to happen. They're going to have to jack up their prices in order to keep the students on the main campus. I mean, if you told me I'd save $1,000, I'd drive 2 miles over and take the classes. Um, or they'll have to have some kind of agreement on what's offered where. So I don't know where it's headed. Um, but students are benefiting from it now. Recapturing customers lost to online competitors. Well, that. Here's probably the closest, if we were to think of it, serving existing customers better. And that's been their goal, is how can we design this so students can find things easily? Um, have they achieved that goal? Do you have trouble finding stuff on the website? Yeah. I have to admit, I have a hard time finding things on our website. I'm constantly using the search up here because I have no clue where things are located at. Yeah. Yeah. So sometimes you can try to make it so focused on your customer, students in this case, that you can lose sight of simplicity. Simplicity is oftentimes easier. Now, don't get me wrong, I can find a lot of the websites worse. But and I'm not saying I can do better because I realize that webmaster was not my calling after a couple of years. Um, got your risk of moving online. Same customers moving from in-store to online. Facing new competition online. Existing customers don't want online store. Employee concerns. Um, there's also the risk of not moving online. Um, some of you may be too young to remember this, but J.C. Penney's and Sears used to be big. I remember growing up, I used to have their Christmas catalog. Oh, I love waiting for that to come out to see the toys. I'd spend hours, page after page, looking through toys. Um, they kept their same model forever and really focused on their stores. And as a consequence, they really missed out on moving to the online realm. They eventually did, but that wasn't a real big push because they thought catalogs would be around forever. Um, there's a lot of other companies that did the same type of thing. Um, Walmart's struggling with that now. What do they put online? What do they have in their stores? Um, Personally, if I could never step foot in another Walmart the rest of my life, I would. Amazon Prime delivers a lot of things I order. It's next day. I don't know how in the world they get it to me the next day, but they do. Um, yeah, it's unreal. Yeah, and it's just like, I don't want to go down there to Walmart, and we're getting more and more that way. Yeah. So yeah, if they had maybe they do, drive through. See, I don't even want to go in the store because I hate parking there and dealing with the chaos. But if they had a drive through, yeah, I could get, yeah, right. I'd rather have it shipped to my door, but to be honest, I don't like packages sitting on my front porch if it's something that's valuable. So yeah, yeah, yeah. That'd probably be a good move on their part if they would sell you robot, yeah. If they'd have a drive through, and a fast drive through. Not so I'm sitting there waiting while they process a two-party check that's out of state. But I can get through there quick. Dylan's. I'm trying to get my wife and son to embrace the idea, but you can shop online, and then you just go and pick up your groceries. I hate shopping, period. But now you got costs of moving online, computer equipment, infrastructure. It's not necessarily true in terms of computer equipment because a lot of it's just going so much to the cloud now that you don't have to have your own equipment. Um, laptop so you can upload your pictures, maybe. Hiring personnel to manage the website. Um, then that can be a piece right there. Excuse me. Legal expertise required to protect your intellectual property, regulations online, and customer privacy. Different e-commerce decisions: design website in-house or hire an application service provider, ASP. Buy or lease equipment. Use existing software to have custom software written. Some of this is a little bit old. Um, Unless you're just a huge company. If you're a smaller company, then you don't probably buy or lease your own equipment. You're using some kind of provider, some kind of hosting provider. Um, they have all kinds of interesting services available. I'm going to Google this so I don't bring up something inappropriate. And there it is. DABA pre-scan. I think that's it. Yeah, that's it. Um, there's this in DABA Systems. I volunteered at a Union Rescue Mission scanning books. They would have books donated to them, and then they would need to be scanned to see if they could be sold on Amazon. And they had a storefront and so forth. They've discontinued the bookstore, so I'm not going up there scanning books anymore, which is disappointing because it's a very relaxing activity. I could go there and just be at peace. And but it was interesting because they would go out there and they would determine through algorithms, through statistics, through buying patterns people have. It'd go out there and determine if it's a book that could be sold. And so you'd scan in ISBN or you'd type it in, and it'd come up and tell you the price you should sell it for on Amazon. Um, it would tell you if it's rejected. Some of them that were rejected were pretty interesting. And some of them that had said you could sell were ones like I was getting ready to throw in the discard bin. There was one that came up about $100, little, like a little leaflet. It's like something you wouldn't even think anything about, but came up and rang up a pretty good price on it. Now, what they have to do then is they do have to have a place to store it, but they would, through the Ndaba, they would print off the label. They'd put it on a package, wrap the book in a package, put it on a shelf, and then it would automatically load into Amazon storefront. So, again, these places have made it so easy to do this, even to the point where they tell you how much to price it. They're rethinking their how they're going to do their sell their books online. Uh, no, Union Rescue Mission in Wichita. Um, they just weren't breaking even, and because they had the huge expense of gas, because they'd have to drive to the different libraries across Kansas, and uh, and then some of those library books weren't worth anything. They scanned book after book, nothing, 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 and there was one individual that passed away. He donated his they were like World War II books, like models, like, and then there but books about models. And they were just ringing up right and left. It's like ka-ching, ka-ching, ka-ching. It's just like I don't know how much they actually donated to the Union Rescue Mission out of those two boxes. And if you told me it was $3,000 worth of books, it wouldn't surprise me. Um, But again, you don't have to do all this that they're talking about. It's the systems are built in. Customer transaction overview. Customers learn to recite. Go there. Identify return customers. Personalize the site. Provide a secure environment for making purchases. Process payment. Communicate with accounting and credit company. Order fulfillment. Update inventory. Contact shipping system. Shipping company. Arrange pickup and delivery to customer. Um, all this is becoming streamlined. Um, and this was, and I'm sure it's really advanced since then, but it was about 15 years ago when I was working at IFR. They had an actual FedEx machine in the shipping department and a UPS machine. They provided it, and when you need something shipped, you put the package on the scale, it weighed it, and it automatically printed off a label. It not only printed off label, but then it sent that to FedEx or UPS's database and updated it how much to charge IFR. And so IFR put a label on there. They put it up in the shipping dock. UPS, FedEx came by. They just loaded it up. Nothing even needed to be scanned because it was already done. Well, they probably scanned it to say I'm loading it, so you can track it, type of deal. But other than that, it was all done. So again, all this is becoming becoming easier. And it shows you typical online transaction, 9 steps. Um, got your website, then customer database management system, online order entry system, accounting system, credit verification, shipping system, inventory system. Um, Oftentimes, this orange box here is pretty much all being done for you once you set up your storefront on these automatic sites. The only thing you're doing is maintaining your inventory and setting up the storefront initially, and then shipping it, which is again working with your inventory. I'm gonna skip over some of these more boring ones. How do you learn about your site? Print advertising is the URL. How do you how do you how do you get your information out? Yeah, that's a big one. Pay Facebook, pay Google, pay somebody anymore. Used to be it was all based upon search engine results. Now, an obvious domain name is good. If you're selling candles, candles.com. So that's obvious. Search engine is just kind of iffy if you try to go with the search engine by itself. Mm, not quite what I wanted. Um, Use Search Console to monitor Google search results for your results data. Submit URLs. Like here, you submit your URL to Google. Um, Welcome to Google Search Console. To start, select the property. Looks like you type in your URL here. So I can put in cali.edu. It's probably already in there. But gives you instructions and so forth. You can verify it. Um, Now, by default, what you'll find is Google will pick up your website anyway. But if you want to submit it manually, this is how you do it. Now, all of them have these places to submit your URLs. And some of them are based upon your keywords. Some of them are based upon your name. Some of them are based upon your title. Some are full text indexing. So like if I come to Cali here and if I right click and choose view page source, you see up here is a meta name. This is where you can put information in. I guess this specifies we have a copyright on that. I don't think ours has anything specific about keywords. Well, here it is down maybe. Let me search for it. Key. No, it's probably in a separate file they bring in. Let me find another site. View page source. Um, some search engines are based upon the keywords you have here. And so these are the keywords you put in here. What that means is if I type in Java, Bootstrap, W3C, development, these keywords will help mine appear higher up in the search engine. So I won't necessarily be on page 10, I might be on page 3. Again, the best way to do it now is paying them to do it. You pay them, and you appear, like on page one. But this is what people would play with. Now, it used to be you could play tricks on the search engines. Instead of just having HTML once, I'd have it like 10 times. Well, they got looking for that, and if you deliberately are putting HTML 10 times, then they would block you. So they try to stop you from doing things like that. It's also based upon if I have HTML 1,000 times in my page, then they probably view that this is a site that's has a lot of HTML on it. And I don't mean the tags, I mean the actual text. Like, what word do you see over and over on this page? Learn, 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 learn. So it could be if I were to go and search for learn HTML, the fact that it has learn 100 times on the page would cause it to find this, fairly high in the engine. Learn HTML. Let's see what Bing says. Ah, LinkedIn. And here's W3 Schools. So it appeared fairly high. DuckDuckGo. I don't think I ever heard of that one. Dogpile. Hmm. DuckDuckGo search. Learn HTML. See if I can spell it. So HTML school. Now I noticed that they have a little marker here. I don't know what that means in DuckDuckGo. Could mean that they pay to be up there. No, it kind of looks like that's their icon associated with the webpage. Never mind. Submitting URLs to DuckDuckGo. Again, you can find instructions on how to submit your site to DuckDuckGo. Here's a list of 5 sites to help you to submit your site on other search engines. Digza. So it's ways of doing that. By default, the more common ones will pick up your website anyway. Have you ever tried to find somebody's website in a search engine and you just couldn't get it to come up? You'd actually type in almost their entire name and still wouldn't find it. That probably hasn't been set up such that you can find it easy. Okay. Identify return customers, personalize the site. People like to be remembered. So you can do that with different ways. This talks about connects to a database, like my Amazon. Remembers who I am, remembers what I was watching last. If I discontinue watching a movie, it lets me pick up where I left off. Really nice. Or you can leave a cookie. A cookie is a file that you leave on somebody's computer, and it keeps information about them. And so it might remember some information about last time you were on the site. Need a secure environment. And what's one of the things that makes Kali secure? Padlock here? You should see a padlock. Yeah, I don't know where that went to though. They pushed out browser updates, so you can't see that anymore. I don't know how you view that. um, but yeah, that used to be. If you saw HTTPS, that talked to you through a secure channel. If you click the padlock, um, there's a certificate too. Certificate adds another layer of authenticity to it. And if I click that, um, we got it through Let's Encrypt Authority X3 and ensures the identity of a remote computer, proves the identity of a remote computer, and so forth. So it's good to have a certificate if you're selling something and so forth. Let's go to my website, mathfields.com. That's what it says up here. Not secure. I don't see the padlock. You would not want to buy anything on my website. It's not encrypted. Stuff would be going across as plain, probably plain text. If I click that, you see I don't have a certificate. It says you should not enter any sensitive information in this site, for example, passwords of credit cards, because it could be stolen by attackers. You have to pay to have that certificate. And since I don't sell anything, since I don't have a sign-on, I don't have a certificate. So it's not bad that a site doesn't have that unless you're doing those items. But this is what you have to consider. A lot of places don't want to fool with that, so they redirect you to another site like PayPal or something that does have all that set up. They let them handle that. What's wrong with going through PayPal though? If everything's perfect in terms of that, it is, but they charge you. Yeah. So couldn't tell you, if it's a flat rate or it's probably a percent because that's how a lot of them make some good money on it. So a place like Walmart will maybe do their own processing because they don't want to pay PayPal millions of dollars, in these for each of these transactions that are occurring. Amazon, they won't be going through PayPal type of deal, um, unless they own PayPal. Usually, it's not very much, but when you multiply that times the number of transactions that they have, then the larger companies don't want to do that. Yeah. There's a gas station up on North Hillside. Um, I never have been in there because it looks really bad, but um, uh, when I volunteered, I sometimes drive people to work, and I'll stop there and they'll go in and they complain because they won't take anything under $5 debit card. And I couldn't tell you how much they charge per transaction, but that place, yeah, if it's under $5, then you can't use your debit card. Um, so So it must be like you say, maybe a quarter or so, at least a quarter or something. They figure, I don't want to lose that quarter. I don't know. I don't think any other place does that, do they? Like if you go to Quick Trip. Yeah. That would be bad. You go in and charge something for 50 cents and it charges them they have to pay an extra quarter to process it. Then they would lose money on that. Um, okay, this talks about the um, secure site assurance certificates, gives that to you. It talks about different how to process payment. I forget where I was yesterday. Um, but it was a place where you could donate money, and you had to fill out a form. You had to print off a piece of paper on your printer, fill out what you wanted to do, and then write your credit card information and everything at the bottom. And then you had to fax, mind you, not scan and email, but fax this to them. And I was thinking at the time when I'm looking at this, like, who in the world would actually donate to this place? Um, where is there a fax machine? Can you still get one at Dillon's? I don't know. Um, just their way of processing a payment is so outdated. Um, I could respect it more if they had you email. I wouldn't do it. I could respect it more if they had you email the information to them. I guess nobody's going to intercept a fax, so that is safe in that regard, I guess. I don't know if you can hack into a fax or not, fax machine. Um, but it is important you figure out how you're going to process your payment. I think that was goatsandchickens.com. I think I was looking at two of them yesterday. I don't think that's the one. Chickensandgoats.com. I can go to that one, but okay. So where's their it's really interesting. Assuming I can find it here. Goats. Oops, that was the second one was the one I wanted. Whether you're religious or not, it's a cool concept. Except for they just settled a lawsuit where they were ripping people off. So it's just like that's interesting. Um, but you can come out here and like this right here, $140 for you can buy a pair of goats to help a family over in another country. And this one must not have been the one I was looking at because this appears to have a shopping cart. Kind of looks halfway legitimate. Let's see if it goes over here. Billing information. Where do you put the credit card? Continue to secure payment page. So this probably Makes me fill all that information. But probably takes you to maybe a second party. I never got that far. But yeah, you can buy a lamb for people in another country, a water buffalo, a pig, chicken. The chickens is $11 per pair. Um, it's interesting how much that good that does. If they hadn't just been sued and lost a lawsuit, because I guess they're collecting this money and they wasn't going to buy a cow for a poor lady over in India. Um, they were using it for I don't know what purpose. You can buy them a toilet. All kinds of interesting things you could get for them. I wish I could remember that one site I went to where it just had a printed one where again he had to enter all that in, fax it. But how are you going to process the payment? If it's hard, nobody's going to do it. It's got to be easy. You know, I got to be able to type in my credit card and very little information and click pay. There's been I ordered some equipment for the program here, and good lord, they didn't make that easy at all. Of course, I got a discount for being a educational institution, and that's why it took so much. But to process that payment was just a nightmare, and I never did do it right because I couldn't figure out the way to order. I guess now that I've gone through the process last year, I'm supposed to decide what I want to buy. I'm supposed to contact somebody at the company, get a purchase order. That's like they send me an electronic paper copy. Then I little vague on the next part, but I think I have to put it into our system, and I don't know what I do with the purchase order. Um, and it just never could. I never did it right, and so finally they just gave me the credit card last year and said, "Hey, go buy it online." It still wasn't that easy. Um, Again, when you're looking to set up your own site, it has to be easy. You know, I went through that process, but if I was a customer at home, I would not have gone through all the headaches that I'd gone through. I would have went somewhere else. Okay, this talks about all that. I showed you a shopping cart, um, you know, and the steps for checking out. That was that example I just showed you. Um, okay, nothing really interesting there. You can read this and see it. Now here's other e-commerce models: eBay, peer-to-peer auction style sales, Craigslist, peer-to-peer classified ads, um, Groupon, group coupons. I never have used Groupon. Businesses post coupons for 1 day only, minimum number required. PayPal is your online payment service. That's a big one. There's also Apple Pay and other similar systems. Um, Bitcoin, virtual currency. It's getting easier to order things. You can order things through Alexa, can't you? That makes me a little uneasy that I'll say the wrong thing while Alexa's on and it'll order 12 TVs or something. But you can order through that. Now databases store large amounts of data. Um, Businesses like store small amounts of data too. Businesses require databases for inventory, personnel, customers, suppliers, and financials. You got your data organization, bits and bytes, basic pieces of computer data. That's an interesting thing to put in a database. Field, one meaningful piece of information. Record, a set of related fields. Data file, a set of related records. Database, a set of related data files. We'll go into Access. You don't have to have Access installed or anything for this class, but if you want to play around with it, then you can. You should be able to install this with your Kali account. So you go into Kali email, and before you actually go into the email part, over on the right-hand side or bottom somewhere, you should see an install office. Okay, I'm gonna create a blank database. Don't worry about this part. Okay, so the entire thing's our database. We're gonna have tables you can create. Over here is table 1. I can choose rename. Can't rename it while it's open. Let me close that. Guess I gotta save it first. Great. Great table. And let me go to save that then. And I'll call this sales. So this is where all our sales is going to be for our business. Create table. Save. This will be our customers. And create table. And save this. Shipping. Assuming I can spell. But you see what, anyway, you get the idea. Okay, so you got your customers here. You got your sales. Under sales, I can define fields. Like I could have the customer name. Customer address. Sales order number. Amount. So you define these fields. Field is one meaningful piece of information. So that's what I'm putting through here. Now it takes and I have to admit I'm not that great at designing databases, and I have a lot to learn on that regard. I'm pretty good at designing them poorly, but it takes a lot of thought to design it correctly. What would be wrong with putting customer name, customer address in here? Yeah, that might be something, because in our sales order table, you can easily find this information. And also, if I order 100 items, it's storing this same information 100 times. Now, if you want to keep track of a history, then maybe do something different. But if I want to keep track of customer name and customer address, I should put that in the customer table. So I come over here and I put my customer name and my customer address. So now David Hayes would just have one record, which we'll see. But you got to have some way to tie that. So back here in sales, this customer name I don't want anymore, but I want a customer number instead. And then this field, I'll just go ahead and delete. Cut that. Let me get rid of the field. Let's see. Delete field. So now when I order something, only the customer number is here, and the customer number is what's going to tie me to here, which means I'm going to need a customer number here. And I'll just go ahead and put it at the end here, like that. Okay, so customer here, if I open this, I'm going to change it to Daysheet View. Design view, boy, I haven't done this for a while. Let me close those. And some of you have had computer applications recently. How do you bring up so you can put data in? Boy, that's bad. Anybody remember that? Yeah, but I'm in the design view, so I'm not sure how I get out of the design view. This datasheet view, which is this. Maybe if I put data underneath. Oh, data underneath it here. Okay. So I'll put 3 for the customer name. David Hayes, customer address 100 South Pine. Customer number is 33. 33. And then that's my customer. So I'm now customer 33. So when I sell something or buy something under sales here, it'll record 33 for the customer number, and sales order number maybe is I don't know 314 713 and 1133. This is the proper way to design it, and they got idea is you do not repeat any data. So if you're repeating your data like in 1,000 records, maybe it should be in its own separate table. I'm trying to think what that's called. I signed up for an teaching SQL class next semester because I need to refresh my memory. I realized that this semester. I think it's data normalization. Yeah, data normalization is a process organizing data in database. This eliminates redundancy, inconsistency, dependency, and so forth. Because if I call up, if I have the customer name, customer address in the sales, and I call up to have my address changed, they would have to change it in perhaps 1,000 places. If instead I have it in the customer table, and I call up, say, this is David Hayes, I want to let you know I moved, and I say, okay, what's your new address? I'm now at 200 North Pine. And they come in here to the customer table, they change it 200 North Pine, and done. You got one place where you changed it. Part of the problem is, though, is if you make your data too normalized, then people can't report against it. Your average user at a company cannot do SQL queries against it. You have to have everybody in IT do it because it is so normalized. We have that problem here at Cali. They're introducing a new software product that they think is going to help with the reporting, but they don't really understand the problem isn't with the reporting tool. It's the fact that the database is so normalized. And that's good. Your data should be normalized. But when it's so normalized and you have to go through 8 different tables to get what you want, then people don't understand that, and the average user. And so the only people that can create any kind of report here at Cali is 2 or 3 people. I can fumble around and find it, but even then, sometimes it's a challenge. Um, do you know where your personal email address is stored in Cali's database? Your Cali email is stored in its own separate field, but there's no field for your personal email. It's stored in the address in your addresses. So in your address, where your addresses are, one of the lines is for your email address. So to extract that and get it is a challenge. It's not easy. That's them not even using the database like they should. Okay. Enough about that. Let's see, where am I at? Record. That's what we're talking about here. Each one of these is a record. So if I call in or there's a new person, I'm in a customer file. Sally Smith. She moved to 100 South Pine when I moved out, and her customer number is 34. Each one of these is a record. So each one of those is a record. Data file, a set of related records. Um, some places called table. Database, a set of related data files, so a set of tables. You really don't work at the bit and byte level. I never have ever worked at that level in a database, so I'm gonna skip that. That's just what we're talking about. You have different records, different fields. This shows you an example. We got your fields, cross top, ID, last name, first name, birth date, pay rate, hours worked. What's wrong with how I did the name here? Well, I put the full name in field 1, didn't I? It'd be better to separate first name from last name. Because if I have somebody call up and say, yeah, I'm David Hayes, they'd have to go down to the D's and look through all the Davids until they found David Hayes. And I swear my bank does that. That they that's how they look things up, the way they talk sometimes. Um, it isn't like, what's your last name, Hayes? What's your first name, David? And then address. It's like they're browsing through the David Hayeses on the screen. Let's see. Database management system is abbreviated as DBMS. Manages files in a database. Relational database model files are 2D tables. Entity, a distinguishable component of system, an employee, customer, rugs, or a rug for sale. Tuple is a row of a relational table. Attribute is a category of a field. And primary key is attribute that uniquely identify a tuple. Important part there is to understand that relational database is the most common database model now. It's what everything's based upon: Oracle, Sybase, Ingress, if those are still around. So everything's based upon Access is based upon a relational database model. Yeah, that shows employee table. SQL is how you pull information out of a database. So use SQL queries to retrieve data according to some criteria. Example, retrieve employee name, pay rate, and hours worked for employees named Pereira. Let's see if I can fumble around enough to actually even show you an example. Like I say, I have to do some refreshing in my memory. Customer, great. Query design. And I don't really care about that. Was that? I want to go to SQL view. No way to make that bigger. That's interesting. Hopefully you can see that. But if I want to select everything from customers, then you do a select asterisk from customers. And there's a little exclamation here to run it. And that'll bring up all my records from customers. Oh, I have to go back to SQL view. If I just want to bring up field 1, which is customer name. Actually, I should customer name I put as a record. Jeez. Delete record. There we go. What I wanted to appear is to rename this. Rename field as customer name. Right click on that, choose rename field address. Right click on that and rename field and customer number. So now my query, I can say select customer name from customers. And then run that. It'll just print a customer name. So SQL is a language to talk to databases. List of students in a major, SQL. This is the SQL I wrote in order to pull all the students in my computer science major, so I can email you information. Remember how I said that your email address was an address line? So I'm looking for where the address line has an @ sign in it. So that allows me to find your email address so I can send it to you. Because a lot of people never check their Cali email, so sending it there is, I don't know, is that a true statement? Does everybody check their Cali email? Do you? So maybe that's not a necessity anymore then. Used to be nobody checked their Cali email, and sending somebody an email there, they never looked at it. Yeah, Blackboard app isn't good. Yeah. But this shows you that sometimes the SQL that you have to write is not very. This took me a long time to get this to work. Had to do a lot of playing. I had to figure out how in the world to pick off something that had an @ sign in it, an address line. And they always put your email address in address line 1. But anyway, that's how you communicate. The average person here at Cali could no more do this than fly to the moon. If you ask somebody, could you give me a list of all the email addresses of all the students in a particular program, like in the ARC program, they cannot give that to you. And again, part of that is data normalization makes it so it's hard to report against, and part of it is them storing things in what should you be putting in an address line? Should you be putting an email address? No. That's the most confusing thing there is. Some of them are not so. What was this one? Oh, no, they do put the Cali email in your address line. Oh, that was horrible. Because here I'm actually searching for @cali.edu. Oh, they put your personal and your Cali in there. And in this one, I'm just looking for Cali email addresses. And so in the address line, I'm looking for Cali. This is poor. This is actually a poor database design. This is not a reflection on Cali. This is whoever we bought the system from. Nowadays, for you not to have a separate field for email addresses is unheard of. For Cali to have to store it in your address line is again, it's not designed well. So anyway, that's another example of SQL. I don't really tell people I can do a lot with SQL because I don't want to be creating reports all day long. But that is an issue because if you can't get an email list to contact people, then you can't send them information, can you? So they worked a lot with creating groups. That was one thing that they'd contact me on about how to create groups, using PowerShell, so that they could then have a way to contact information or give people information. Even better than that, would it be good to figure out how to send you a text message? Which would you be more likely to read? The text, right? Yeah. And so if our system somehow interfaced with that, where they could put something into the system and it would go through and find all of your text, all of your cell phone numbers, and then send you a text, then that'd be a fantastic way to do that. They don't have that. To receive winter notifications, receive any of those notifications, you had to sign up, didn't you? They told you to go to what, Cali Go or something like that, and sign up for alerts. They did that because the system is designed not to do that. They had to come up with that. A better system would be when they add a student in that when they put your cell phone number in there, then you can extract that via SQL and send somebody a text message. Okay, this shows you examples. This selects these fields here: ID, last name, first name, pay rate, hours worked. From this is a table name where this field name is equal to or how do you say that? Selects asterisk. That's everything, all the fields from employees. That's your table, and this orders it, sorts it by ID. Again, it selects all your fields from employees where pay rate is greater than $15. What does this do? Select star from employees. Oh, that's just talking about what they're doing. Never mind. Multiple tables may contain related data, and we already looked at that. Foreign key and attribute in one table that is a key in another. Connects data in one table with another. Um, this is where you're pulling it from two tables. You're pulling it from employees and insurance policies. From employees, probably you get last name and first name. From policies, you get plan type. Um, these are just looking it up by name. This is what makes the connection between the tables. So that's what makes that connection. Um, let's just go into detail about that. And that shows the connection. Database integrity, verification as data is added, removed. Entity integrity, no primary key can be missing. Data integrity, values must match category constraints. Referential integrity, foreign keys must match the primary key value in a related table. Efficiency, disk access is slow. File management systems can organize disk files for faster access. Distributed database, data stored across a computer network. Okay, data science. You've heard of big data, right? Have you ever downloaded their information from Facebook? If you've never done that, you should do it. It's kept everything from the beginning of time for you. So when you download it, it downloads this huge zip file and has every picture you've ever posted. Has I think it has all your likes. Anytime you ever liked anything is recorded off. Any post you ever did is there, and so forth. Now I've never went in and tried it to delete something and then go and download it and see if it's still there. So that'd be the question. Um, but it's tracking everything about you. It helps you understand how Facebook knows whatever they need to know about yourself, because they got every message you've ever sent and so forth. But the question is, how do you analyze that? You got a huge amount of data. What do you do with it? Talking about this yesterday. Um, Alexa, Siri, um, Garmin to a certain extent, though it's not connected. Um, Siri's listening to you all the time, isn't it? Yeah. Did I talk about Siri last week? I don't remember. I'll probably repeat myself. But I bought my son a iPhone for Christmas last year or year before. I don't remember when. It was a cheap one, iPhone SE, because I can't afford $1,000 model. And it was a track phone model, so it wasn't even like had the standard plan. He didn't like it, didn't use it. Said it's too small. So I've had this iPhone sitting there on my shelf for a long time, and thought I'm going to use this. I'm going to do something meaningful with this. So I got it hooked up and everything, and I never had played with Siri before. That was fun. 2 days of me talking to Siri. I kind of got tired of it now, but I was eating a donut on the way home, and I was eating a little bit too fast, kind of choked. And by the time when it cleared up, then it said, "Hey Siri, I think I'm dying." And yeah, well, no, but she was ready to call the suicide hotline. So I guess she thought I meant I wanted to die, and which is fantastic that the technology is there to try to help people. But I'm sitting there, no, 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 don't call them, no, no. But again, these machines are knowing everything about you. Somebody in a class yesterday asked, well, because we talked about that, it's listening at all time. And they said, well, can it save all that off? Yeah, it can. Now their agreement with you is that they won't do that, right? So if you sign up for some of those services and so forth, they say, hey, we're not gonna store off all your recordings and so forth, but they could. Um, yeah, it's a changing world. Everything's listening to you. Yeah. Big brother. That's been happening for a while though. It used to be if you got on a regular phone line. I don't know how cell phones work on that regard, but if you got on a regular phone line and you said bomb and White House and jihad, well, you'd be on a watch list at that point. Uh, Everything that was going across the phone lines was being saved off, and they had these. Could be. So yeah. Um, but you want them to be monitoring that. I guess it depends upon your. Yeah, yeah. So there's dangers all across the board on that. You want the NSA to be monitoring all the emails going across the system. If they freely can talk back and forth through email and not have anybody be able to intercept those, then they can plan the next attack. So you'd probably be shocked if you knew how much they actually violate your privacy in trying to find bad individuals. But I'm going to Comic Con tomorrow in Wichita. And if that means that I don't have to worry about some terrorist doing something at that Comic Con, I'm happy with it. So the government can listen on me all day long. I don't say anything that I'm worried about. I'll think that when they put me in a concentration camp, the Gulag. But data analysis. Process finding the right data sets, putting data in the right format, and writing queries to extract information. It's still the idea you got some huge database. It's called big data, but it's a huge database. How do you get anything out of it? It's not necessarily relational. Data science is the newest branch. It's becoming the buzzword. Incorporates data analysis tasks, but requires knowledge of the enterprise for useful queries and the use of statistics and visualization techniques to interpret the results and predict future strategies to achieve a predetermined goal. Um, I've actually been communicating with Amazon. They got a curriculum set up for approaching this, learning how to use their tools. They provide the entire curriculum. We can put into a class, workshop, and so forth. I just been swamped, so I haven't had time to really read through. They sent me like tons of information, and I just have to say, okay, Callie wants to do this, and then we can get involved with it. Um, but again, how do you manage all that? And that's a wave of the future for e-commerce and so forth, and for marketing and for advertising. Um, for example, I've talked with my brother before through Facebook Messenger. Some of you have used that. It's a nice way to communicate. It's free, so forth. You don't have to pick up your cell phone. You can see the person on the other end. Um, One time, he said something in Facebook Messenger, and what do you think appeared on his Facebook a couple days later? An ad based upon what he had said, not what he had searched for. And I think I told about killing the wasp in here. Yeah. Again, Google Chrome was listening to what I said, and they gave me an advertisement based upon that. Now, how do these all talk? Amazon, Facebook, all these talk together. Well, they set up relationships, exchange information in terms of selling the information. Hmm. Oh, yeah, yeah. It'd be interesting if some of the politicians get elected that are promising that they plan to. Right. Oh yeah, I remember that. Uh-huh. You might say it needs to be reined in, but anytime the government gets involved, it just really, I'm not sure if it's good. Um, yeah, I've been earlier this week. I was battling trying to figure out how to upload YouTube videos because they passed a law, and now YouTube videos have to be marked as safe for kids or kid friendly or something. Um, and when they rolled that out, they broke my capability of uploading to YouTube. And they provided a beta place where you could upload videos, supposedly that would work with their new system. And and they say what that'll do. And I don't have any advertisements on any of my videos because uh, I don't try to make money in that way. But they say that when you market it as kid friendly, I think somebody told me yesterday that that means you can't have advertisements on it. And so that's going to really kill some of the business that some people have where they're targeting kids with that, and there's advertisements on it. Does if mhm. Oh, it did. Yeah, yeah. My wife, she's really freaked out about all this big data and so forth, and she's put a little piece of tape over her webcam on her laptop. She had me unplug Alexa, and unfortunately, I've unplugged Alexa, and now I'm not sure where the power cord is. Probably, yeah. But and I may have told this story in class. It's not a very nice story, but my brother's a little bit larger, um, and he's larger than me at one point in time. And he claims that she told him he was going to become so big he wasn't going to be able to wipe himself. and she claims that she never told him that. And but that actually it was good because it kicked him into losing weight, and so he's about the same size as me now, which I'm too big. But he was to the point where he couldn't like walk up a flight of stairs. He'd be sweating, be rolling down. He's like too, yeah. He was ready for a heart attack, or something worse. And so, but she claims that Alexa emailed that to him or sent that. You know, she says I never would have said that in front of your brother. I might have said that to you, but I wouldn't say that to your brother. Because she adores him. And so yeah, big data. People worried about that. I told her, I said, if you're really worried about things listening to you, then you need to shut your laptop down every time you start talking. You need to shut your phone off, power it off, because does your phone have capability of listening to you? Yeah. Um, right. Yeah. Um, yeah, shut down all computers. Just go down the line of all things you'd have to shut off. Yeah. Really? Even if you power off? Wow. So in order to be completely secure, you have to like pop your smash it or pop the SIM card out or something. Interesting. Um, yeah, yeah, because I talked about the terrorists using eBay photos right here, didn't I? Yeah, yeah. Because you think about it, the NSA has to have so many servers um, running to go through every web page that exists in the World Wide Web. Imagine what I'm saying. Every web page. On a nightly basis, looking for files and so forth, looking for information that's being exchanged between terrorist groups. Um, you won't find a whole lot of people going to computer security. You won't find a whole lot of jobs in Wichita, Kansas, and that. It's probably maybe 20 jobs, across the city. Most companies don't need a dedicated computer security person. Now there is one exception. McConnell has a huge security on their base there. They just kind of do what you were talking about. I have one student. He wouldn't say a word though, but what they can do. But he's working out there now, and I'll have to ask him how many people he has in his department. Yeah. I ought to plan like a trip to the Air Force Base because they give tours of their the computer security portion. They offered it in the past. I just never have had enough students to. But if you take all the students online, maybe I get enough or be part of another tour that goes through because that'd be interesting to see what they have. And I know they won't give you any kind of detailed information on how they gather the data, but yeah, they're 'cause that's a big thing. You know, if you can disable all the weapons of your enemy, um, you got that advantage then. Um, yeah. Who was it that it was North Korea that was claiming they could explode a device over the United States and wipe out all our electronics? Of course, I think they were just boasting. But then Russia made some kind of claim too about how they have a device they could fire off near one of our warships or something, and it would disable all electronics. Something like that. Yeah. Um, yeah. So it's not just wars fought with bullets anymore, but how can you destroy electronics? How can you alter? How can you hack in? So forth. Um, personally, I think that's where they talk about this political interference is done by Russia and so forth, and I have no doubt they probably are doing some of that. Yeah, when you think about it, probably not very feasible for any country to come over and invade the United States. You're just not going to get this. Just not going to work. But if you can get one party going against another party and get them so violently opposed to the other party, well, that's how civil war started, right? So you can see that the places that want to do that is China, Russia. They're sitting there feeding both sides. Trying to get us to. And there's so much hatred out there in the country now. You can see them keep working on it, or maybe not even those countries. Could even be like these countries where you seem to be over Syria, Iraq, Iran. Um, they know they can't load up their warships and sail over here and beat us, but if they can create a civil war that'll at least throw us out of the world arena, then that's the way to go. So yeah, it's changing times. Okay, data warehouse, collection of databases contain current and archived data for research and analysis. Data mining, process of analyzing data to extract and interpret previously hidden patterns through several steps. I'm going to kind of jump over some of this. There's other data science tools, statistical analysis, graphical visualization. There's a language called R that can help with both these tasks. R is very geared to working with statistics. It's not geared to working with large sets of data. So it's a little bit misleading that it's here. It is good for data science, but not for huge chunks. Python's actually better. Yes. I had one of my old bosses. He told me I should be teaching Rust. Yeah, I haven't really gone and well, I haven't even really looked at it. He told me that, and I remember the name, but okay, data brokers, companies that collect and sell data such as birth certificates, marriage certificates, public available information, non-public data purchased or acquired from other companies or data brokers. Okay, then a summary, which I won't go over. Okay, we're it's like a little bit past halfway mark, so we'll go ahead and take a break there, and we'll start again in 5 minutes. See, I think where it's going to become interesting is when they can interface with your brain. How much big data will be there? There's a Batman movie about that. It's the Riddler, I think it was. Yeah. Yeah, Facebook is working on a brain interface now, so that you can put a device on and you just operate Facebook by thinking. Yeah, now that is so cool. They're already, yeah. Now I'm ready to sign up tomorrow, on that technology because that's what I want. I want a game that I can sit there and play without thinking, without using a remote of any sort. Yeah. YouTube Call of Duty Brain Interface. I wonder if I can find a video. Jedi Mind Tricks. Hip hop group. What? This website's got so many ads, it's unreadable. There it goes. Uh huh. Oh. Uh huh. Yeah. What's it even? Jedi Mind Inc. Looks like they're out of business. That's a shame. Unless they're just under a different name. Well, let's go ahead and start. Uh, you probably heard me mention this. This is I wanted to order this, but I think they went out of business before I could. LucasArts sued them. They were, I guess, called Jedi Mind Inc. And they had a website, Jedi Mind Mind Tricks, or I forget what it's called exactly. And you had a headset you could put on, and they had a YouTube video out there where they showed the person playing Call of Duty just by thinking. And this is what I'm waiting for. Let me search for Jedi Mind on YouTube. Maybe that. With my mind. And there's other companies doing this currently, but this is the most exciting one because of the playing Call of Duty. I love Call of Duty. Why is my computer going so slow? Jedi Mind. The what? I don't think so. Oh, is it? Oh, no. Jedi Mind. Like I said, should be grateful and didn't bring up anything inappropriate. I don't know how Jedi Mind gets sued by LucasArts and this hip hop group doesn't. Um, but obviously, they're still okay. I'm not seeing Jedi Mind Call of Duty. But anyway, they'd sit there and play the game just by thinking. And could be. Um, but anyway, they got sued by LucasArts. And they either drove them out of business or changed their name to where I don't know where they're at now. Um, yeah, probably. Now SQL. If you search for SQL, there's 86,752 jobs out there. A lot of jobs. 10,000 new job postings each day. Of those, 11,818 jobs have SQL listed. Compare that to Java. So about the same amount of jobs that want you to know Java, I want you to know some SQL. Probably on a day-to-day basis, 75, 80% of what I did was SQL work. When you're writing a computer system, you're constantly doing SQL work. Um, you're you're asking the user for the customer number. Then you're going out to a customer table that we just created earlier. You're searching for that user. You're returning that information to the screen. So you're dumping them into fields. Then they change the address. So it's then going off and updating the database. So constantly back and forth with databases. Um, there's a database you can have on a cell phone. SQLite, I think it's called, such that you can update it via a game or whatever, and you're interfacing with the database. You go play an online game. Keeps track of the databases of users, their scores, statistics. Um, keeps track of all that, all via databases. Now, out here at W3 Schools, they actually have an SQL tutorial. So if you come out here, like the first chapter here, they say, here's an example, select star asterisk from the customers. You click try it yourself. And then if you click the run SQL, it'll return all these records. So now if I want to modify this, learn about it, instead of pulling all the fields, I can just type in specific customer, assuming I can spell, customer name, comma, city, and then click run SQL. And it'll just return those fields. If I wanted to do a where, hopefully I remember how to do this. Like I said, I need to refresh my memory, so this is good. Equals Berlin. Returns everything with the city of Berlin. This is where you would interface with this on your screen you're designing, like your web form even. You're asking for the city on an input field, like we've been looking at in JavaScript. They put in Berlin. You build this SQL statement based upon what they put in, and then you fire it off to the database. It gives you data, which then you put back into those input fields like we've been looking at. There's a programming language called PHP, and that's where it embeds the SQL directly in the HTML. I don't know if this has got a tutorial on it. Let's see. More learn PHP. Oh yeah, learn PHP. PHP is a popular one. That's not what I want. I want to show a database. Do they have a database? PHP MySQL. So within the HTML file, it embeds the PHP language. And from within the PHP language, you build the SQL statement. And so you can create this as a web page, and then it'll pull that. You see, this is the information that it has over here. It doesn't allow me to change it, doesn't look like. But instead of the ID, first name, last name, I could just type in first name here. If this would allow me to change it. I don't think it will. It doesn't. And then that would just put my first name. There's other languages you can embed in here. Now the neat part about this is that when this comes back to the user, I'm not sure if I'll see it here. This is what the average user sees in their house. If they did a view page source, they do not see any of the SQL. All they see is the resulting data. So all this over here is hidden, which is nice because what am I putting right into the PHP? I'm embedding the password for the database. No, that wouldn't be very secure, password to password. So over here, they do not see the password. But anyway, that's scripting. And a general overview of why you should know SQL. Don't have to be a genius at it. Um, I never did really horribly fancy things at either of the places I worked with SQL. They were very basic stuff. Um, did have to use PLSQL, which we were offering in the spring. That's where you combine programming constructs with SQL. Again, you don't have to do the real weird stuff in SQL. It's the basic stuff is the average stuff you do. Well, this is the JavaScript tutorial 13. Uh, uh-huh. Um, yeah. I was thinking about that this morning, and I don't know yet. Because I was halfway thinking of the last tutorial, like having you go through and do something off MindTap on that, or something based upon last tutorial, kind of leaving people to go off and do that on their own. Oh, it's project. Yeah. Because on the syllabus, I actually put something down for Thanksgiving week, and we're not meeting Friday of Thanksgiving week. So I was trying to figure out how to balance the remaining items this morning. And oops, not that one. 2 weeks from now. Yeah. Right. So we don't have any class then. But we're down to one more tutorial after this. We got tutorial 14, and then that's the last one for JavaScript. And this is exploring object-based programming. So that might not be something too bad to work with. I don't know. Object oriented is kind of complex though. I think I will skip this one, because this one would be good. The programming for web forms is for me to put it out there to read the chapter on this, and I'll give you some assignment after the final project, and that'll give me time to talk about the next one. Oh, why is this going so slow? There it is. Artificial intelligence. That'll put us right on track on finishing the material also, despite me planning something for Thanksgiving. Now, artificial intelligence. This is creating computer systems that exhibit aspects of intelligence. What is intelligence? The Turing test. Human judge questions two hidden entities. One entity is person, one entity is computer. If judge can distinguish computer from person, the computer is intelligent. Probably a big area where most of you have had interface to that is games. How can you program a game to be like a human? Well, humans are not very smart, are they? If you think about a game, it can process information at a phenomenal rate. It could go through all the different possibilities. So, what do they have to do with a computer then in order to get to like a human? Not program all the possibilities. Well, I mean, that would be, you could put that in there. They need to dumb it down. because by default, the computer is so smart it can do things that do millions of calculations. For example, I may have showed you this video. That's not what I want. I want to search here. No. Yeah. Yeah. I can't remember who won, but I remember what you're talking about. This is the 3D game developer class. This is a very quick demo I created. And that was my face I put on the cube. And each time when how you keep track of where you are in a 3D game is it keeps track of it with a 4x4 matrix. Matrix is a rectangular array of numbers. And each time you do any kind of movement in a 3D game, it's doing a matrix multiplication. And this was like a two-minute segment here. And in that process, it did 600,000 matrix multiplications. Now, if you gave me 600,000 matrix multiplication problems to do, 4x4, well, yeah. Well, if I did it by hand, that's the rest of my life. And I probably wouldn't be done by the time I die. So how in the world, can you have a game compete against a human since it can have so much processing power, it can do so much, and that you have to dumb it down. And for like just the simplest game way back when, like Pac-Man, if all of the ghosts immediately headed straight toward you, you'd have no chance. The game would be over immediately. So they have a artificial intelligence goes with the little ghost, and I can't tell you what it is. I think one of them actually does come straight at you. Then one randomly goes around. They got all kinds of but they worked on that. How can we dumb it down such that it's playable? Humans make mistakes. You play a game. Do you always play it perfectly? No. You make mistake after mistake, and your player ends up dying and so forth. So again, big part of it is that artificial intelligence. They're putting artificial intelligence into programming they let's see. It's not exactly the same as what we're talking about here. Machine learning. Have you heard about machine learning? This is a method of data analysis that automates analytical model building. It's a branch of artificial intelligence based on the idea that systems can learn from data, identify patterns, and make decisions with minimal human intervention. That degree program that I worked on, I created 2 courses in it, was that they use machine learning to predict the stock market. That was at World Quant University. And again, you got your artificial intelligence because there's no way that one human can look through all the stocks, all the days, all the years, and understand the patterns. But if you got a machine that can process so much of those transactions doing it, then they can figure out what the pattern is in the stock market. And that's what that whole program is about. By the way, if you're really into finance and computer science, this is a free master's degree they offer. So at some point, if you get your bachelor's and you want to just continue your learning for free, then this is the way place to go. So a billionaire that started this enterprise, he wanted to offer a free master's degree level class across the entire world. So it doesn't matter where you are, you'll take them. And you can go through there, see what the classes are. Mm-hmm. For free. I mean, I think they even offer the books and everything for financial engineering. So they combine business, statistics, and programming together. And yeah, I used to teach for them. It was contracted through another company. They paid well. Broke my heart when that company lost their contract with WorldQuant because I was making $55,000 a year just off of teaching my classes through this. It's not. It's in addition to my So that was a big financial loss when that contracting company lost their contract. Um, and I like that. I like their idea, because it's offering free education. Um, so, but yeah, I don't even remember where the classes are now. But you can read through their classes, and this is an example of AI. Just because there's so much data out there, your big data, how can you intelligently go through it? And one of their classes is that machine learning, which is artificial intelligence. Why can't I swear I've been finding this the other day. SciPy, that's Python. Python is a big one they use. NumPy, that's Python. All they teach now is Python, as I understand it. Back when I taught R and Python, along with the statistics. I'm planning on it. Yeah. There it is. Machine learning in finance. Covers basic concepts of machine learning and so forth. And you can read all that. But and it works. That's the thing of it. This guy's not a billionaire for random reasons. I think he started off with nothing, and not much sure. Maybe he's not a billionaire, but his company is. They're just huge amounts of money they have. Um, they flew me out to create one of the courses out to Ohio, and I went to a recording studio. It was nice. I'd never been in a professional recording studio before, but they had me read off the script and so forth, and then they put the programming to the side. Really, best video that I've ever seen. Um, I was thinking about actually making a copy of it so I could show it, but I didn't like the idea of a billionaire suing me. It's like he's going to win. But the second time they didn't fly me out to Ohio. They sent me to a recording studio in Wichita, and I went from a professional studio, warm. They'd always like there was an assistant there that said, "Well, can I get you a pop?" And it's just like to the studio in Wichita was like an old warehouse downtown Wichita with gang graffiti on the sides. It was -5 degrees out, and they couldn't run the heat because the sound was too loud. So I'm sitting there just as cold as can be in that warehouse. That wasn't very pleasant recording. I was glad when that was done. But they created good work. Both of them actually did. Now, I had one other instructor ask me, "Is this just WorldQuant's way of finding the sharpest people in the entire world and hiring them?" And that's probably what I said. I think that's part of it. Some of the people, the sharpest ones, came from Russia. Believe it or not, these people were just so sharp. They could have been easily teaching the course. I was not the master. They were the master, and I was more at the student level with them. But anyway, that's the only real world example I got of artificial intelligence. Did I click that? Click it again. There it goes. Besides gaming. Eventually, you would have to get to that point. Yeah. Um, it does have some artificial intelligence, but I'm not sure at what level. Some of them just have the artificial intelligence of sensing collisions. Yeah, that isn't very many. Regular people. Yeah. But yeah, they're working more and more on that to where it's going to keep getting smarter and smarter, so they can make more informed decisions. Oh yeah. Oh. Yeah, it's shocking how much computers are replacing people. Um, did I show that in here? Why learn programming? It's another presentation I created. It's probably more interesting than artificial intelligence. um, so I didn't show you this one, but at least I'll show part of it. Robots will replace 20 million jobs by 2030. Oxford report finds. This is from U.S. News and World Report, 6/26, 2019. We're entering an era where all jobs could be replaced by robots, and they're working on it. Um, There's another one. Robot automation will take 800 million jobs by 2030. It's from BBC.com. 47% of jobs will vanish in the next 25 years, says Oxford University researchers. No government is prepared. What are you going to do when automations replace everybody? This is, I thought, the most interesting one. This is from Forbes last April. Walmart is deploying thousands of robots to take over for human workers. And if you read this article, they're stocking shelves. Yeah, you already got that they were replaced with the self checkout. Now you're gonna have robots that are really. Does it take a whole lot of stocking shelves? Does that really need a whole lot of artificial intelligence? No. Um, but even then, it's going to move into the white collar jobs. Uh, right. Here's and I'm a big proponent of bringing back manufacturing in the United States. I hate the fact it's gone to other countries, and people don't understand because they got this vision that you bring back these jobs, and you're going to have all these blue collar workers back on the assembly line. No, not exactly. This is a assembly line that they have at a company. Do you see any people? Yeah, we got an entire program here at Cali about the mechatronics, about robotics, about maintaining these, programming them, and so forth. But the key is, if you bring back the manufacturing, then what jobs is it going to create? Yeah, the job people that are maintaining these, the programming them, things like that. So it's going to be a different type of job, but to be, those jobs. Here's another. No, no, I think Jeremy Mount does here. But here's another number assembly line. Um, I saw this some 20 some years ago at IFR. We had this big robotic thing that would do pick and place, create electronic boards, and it was fun to go and watch it because it'd sit there just as fast, put these electronic pieces in the boards. Um, so yeah, it's and each machine probably did the work of 20 people. So, you think, well, that machine's expensive. Well, how much does 20 people cost you? You start taking the, $50,000 salary per person times 20, and all of a sudden that cost of that robot is minimal. Yeah. Is there any hope? This is how phones used to be. If you made a call, you had to have an operator. She sat somewhere, and I said she because it was really women did it. Kind of sexist, but that was what you always saw. But you'd have them putting in a wire here and putting a wire here to make a connection for your call. Then that got automated, so you didn't need all these people. You had typists. Used to be rows and rows of typists, and the pictures you see is of women too, because again, it was kind of a yeah, wasn't right, but they really way back when the gender had to go in certain fields. Well, those typists are all gone now. You can even talk, and it will type for you. Yeah, I think Word has that feature now. Um, yeah, and see, not great now equates to 5 years from now. Better, pretty good. Yeah. So that's what whenever I see this, people say, "Well, that technology's crap." It's just like you don't understand. This is like version one, version two. Yeah, we're in alpha. 10 years from now, you're just going to be. I don't even know where it's at now. I did it for a class I was showing. Hmm. Yeah, it's bad. I showed that not too long ago. I don't think. Oh well. But yeah, you can turn on the dictation, and it'll type what you're saying. Pretty cool, actually. Um, Firefighting professional will be replaced by robots. Why do you want a firefighter? Um, you want them to run into a building, then possibly die, or would you rather have a robot that can run through the flames, take a fire blanket in, wrap it around the person, run out, and the person's completely safe because they're enclosed in this fire protection. Fire person doesn't die. So yeah, yeah. Here's Thor, tactical hazardous operations robot. This is actually being used. So fight fires. RoboCop was designed by PAL Robotics. This is over in Dubai, I think. But they got and really, do you want a regular police person? You know, you got somebody in a, have I went over this? Or is this a different class? Uh, probably repeating myself. I'm old. I repeat myself. But you got like somebody in a house and they're holding somebody hostage or threatening to do damage themselves or something. But anyway, they're holding somebody hostage. Now you can send in a police officer. Police officer might be killed. That person might be killed. We all make mistakes and so forth, and just because they're screwed up doesn't mean they should be a death sentence. If you send in a robot, well, a robot can disarm the person, and if they fire at the robot, who cares, right? Even if you were destroyed, it's just a machine. But the robot could possibly, with precision, shoot the person in the hand, shoot the person in the arm, so that they drop the gun. Or if they're alone, they could run in and disarm them right away. U.S. Army general says robots could replace 1/4 of combat soldiers by 2030. They're working on that now. They're actually working on the AI because they want to put robots out in the field, and the robots will fight the wars. Um, well, that's pretty cool because at that point, then nobody's no humans dying, right? At least on our side. And what are people upset about when they talk about war? Not just people dying, but our soldiers dying, right? It's sad. They should be upset about anybody dying. But if the Army can put out or if the U.S. Army can put out a battle field full of robots where no humans dying on our side, they're not going to receive as much resistance in whatever they want to do. So they're really pushing that. Some of these are really interesting. See if I can find. I don't remember the companies that are producing these killer robots. Killer robots. Um, this is from military.com, I guess. The United Nations seeks to head off rise of killer robots. And these aren't just like science fiction. If I could find the names of the companies, we could go to their websites and they have videos out there showing their killer robots. So this is what would be going out in the field and fighting the wars. Mars. That kind of gives me enough to probably find out who created this. That name sort of rings a bell. Modula Kinetic. Yeah, Kinetic North America. And they don't ever put that out there. But I think they got videos. Photos. One video I saw of it was pretty cool. The concept of killing people is not cool, but the technologies I just find fascinating. Let me go to YouTube, see if I can find. When you think about machines and so forth replacing people right and left, um, here it is. Mars robot demonstration during RIMPAC 2010. And this was 10 years ago, right? Imagine how the technology's gotten better. I'm gonna mute that. Try to go to a little bit more exciting. Because they'll have it firing here pretty soon. Oh, yeah, that is going slow there. I was thinking it was our connection, but that's might not have been the one I saw. The one I saw was pretty cool because it showed firing while I was going. That isn't hardly going at much of a speed. Uh huh. Now there's going faster. Yeah, yeah. This is technology 10 years ago. Think how much it changes in 10 years. So I don't think this one is even showing them firing, but they are showing, I guess, an operator running it. Oh well. Um, you think they'd have videos on their site? These are all the different products I guess they got available. Unmanned systems, maritime. Talon, that's one of them that I've watched. Right. Yeah, I was watching a MASH show over the weekend about that people that dispose of the explosives. That they have so many accidents. And it's like, why would you want a human being doing that? You want a robot to go and do it. Um, so yeah, and this company, this is all it does, as far as I can see, is work on these type of things, and got big government contracts for this. Um, can you kill them? Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Um, they this has been a while. This is probably about 7 or 8 years ago when I was gathering all this data originally, and they were working on artificial intelligence, so the robot would decide who to kill. They had a problem with it, artificial intelligence, though. Like, it'd have a hard time telling the difference between a civilian and an enemy combatant. You think it'd be easy. You think it'd be, well, if it senses a gun in their hand, that's an enemy combatant. But I suppose I was getting confused, like if somebody had a hole in their hand, to interpret the hole um, as a weapon and then shoot on. And you don't want that. That's a PR nightmare. To have a village, yeah. But they're working on it. It's going to be there, whether we want like it or not. Nanobots, I've talked about those, I think, before. Those are going to replace a lot of people in dental, medical areas. Hmm. Yeah. Uh-huh. And that sounds outrageous, but nothing's out. When I see the science fiction of my youth now being technology everybody uses every day without even thinking about it. Yeah, it's you're gonna have the restaurants that will be completely run by machines. They have that now. This Cafe X kiosk in San Francisco doesn't have people. Um, Humans on hand to help customers order, like the old people come in. They kind of help you out at Walmart, right? And Dylan's, you go in there and old people are scratching their heads, like, how do I use this machine? And then they come over and, well, you put the device under there and it scans it. And, yeah. But eventually you won't have that. Um, McDonald's in Derby. You go in there, I guess there's a kiosk to order. There's no longer somebody take orders now. I haven't been in there since they did that. Um, right? You can order off the app. At some point you won't need anybody to even prepare the food, because I'm sure, yeah, you could sit there and have a machine process it. Your cars, self-driving vehicles will replace occupations with human drivers. You won't need truck drivers anymore. You won't need Uber, taxi. Um, that is. So it's going to replace that. Um, yeah, you could go down the line. I mentioned this presentation one time to another teacher, and they said, "Well, we can't replace teachers. Why not?" um, I could, and I actually proposed this to one of the publishers. They didn't listen to me, but they flew us down to Texas to get our feedback on how to teach statistics. I think it was statistics, either that or college algebra. Put me in a nice hotel. It's a $500 a night motel room. I'd never been in one of those before. It wasn't that really. I wouldn't pay $500 myself, but I'm more like a $50 type person. But I gave them the feedback that they should have the artificial intelligence in there, so that when you're in My Math Lab, if you've ever used that program, it could predict and it could talk to you what you're doing. When I teach college algebra, I pretty well know the questions people are going to ask me. It's very rare when somebody catches me off guard with a question anymore. And if I know those, couldn't you program it in? You could. Like a square root of negative 9. Does anybody know what that's equal to? 3i. A lot of people do not put the I though, and I know a certain percentage of people are going to make that mistake. So if I sense that you've done that, then I can say, remember, square root of negative one gives you, and then see if you give the answer back to me. Kind of refresh your memory. If you don't get the answer back to me, then the program could say I. So yeah, you could replace teachers. Here's over in Japan. They got a robot news anchor. Do you really need a person doing the news? No. You can have a robot doing it. Given just saying the news in general. If you think about it, they're just reading off teleprompters, aren't they? Why do you need them? Get rid of them. Put a robot there. Here's probably one of the most realistic robots they have out there. Somebody said they saw it one time with hair. It actually looks a lot better with hair. But yeah, dismal future. It's not. We're in exciting times. Those of you going into computer science, you're in the right field. Every other field is going to slowly disappear. Maybe art. If you're going to go into art, I can't imagine a robot ever replacing art, but an artist. But never know. How about music? What makes a good musician? The fact that you can play the notes correctly, you can play them for the right time, or is there feeling involved? Like how I'm feeling translates out through the notes. I don't know. If it's just playing the notes, who's a better musician? A robot. Without doubt. Now, if there's, and I don't know anything about music, so I couldn't answer that question. But if there's your personal feelings that reflect out through there, then yeah, that's a ways down the road before a robot can replace you. And some of you have seen this. Dice.com is a major employment website for IT jobs. 10,000 new full-time job postings appear each day. That doesn't mean there's 10,000 new jobs, just full-time job postings. Compare this to 3,300 new full-time job postings in accounting on Indeed.com. A lot of people going in accounting, and not saying that's not good, but could accounting someday be automated? Well, is there a specific set of questions that I would ask when you come in to get your tax return done? Good day, Austin. How much did you make last year? And he said, well, what do you mean? Look at your W-4 gross wages line such and such. And you read off the number. The number automatically appears. Actually, you don't even need somebody, a robot sitting there, right? You could have a computer program sitting there asking you those questions. And then it interpret what you say and put it on the screen. You wouldn't even have to type it. There'd be no need for a keyboard. Is it really, for those of you who've done your taxes, is it really that hard to fill out if you don't got a lot of deductions? No, it's so easy. You know, they got that, is it Quicken does the taxes? The Turbo? Yeah, because it is so easy. So yeah, automate all that. So yeah, it's they do. Yeah. Um, Now I go with H&R Block, not because it's hard, not that I couldn't do it myself, but my wife doesn't trust me, so we go through them. She's afraid I'll make a basic math mistake and we'll end up in jail or something. So okay, let's see if there's anything else in artificial intelligence. I got 14 minutes left. And I won't put a test out on the artificial intelligence chapter. This stuff's not really. This is kind of interesting. Natural language uses use requires understanding the meaning of words and combination of words. Spot is a brown dog. Every dog has four legs. Where formal language becomes like dog spot and brown spot. Some of the artificial intelligence languages require you to use formal language, but natural language is starting to take off, or was. And I've never used natural language, so that's kind of fascinating for me. Natural language programming. Trying to see what ones are. Um, yeah, I think that's where it's headed. I think machines will replace programmers eventually. That's kind of scary. I'm going to become a programmer. What do you mean? I say eventually. We're talking 100 years from now. Unless nanobots keep you alive for that long, you'll be gone at that point. But when you think about it, you know, we programmed, I think, the average in this class earlier. How many ways can you program the average? Add the numbers. Divide by your count. Um, so instead of having a person program that, you could say to the computer, write a program to calculate the average. And then it come back and say, do you want a running average? Do you want an arithmetic average? There's other averages too. And I want an arithmetic average. What? Yes. Yeah, they're It's actually being done now. You don't see it as much, but it's already being done. Um, don't know if this will come up in the time we have left, but let's see. This is a game development package called Unity. Oh, and by the way, I could today I could write a program that would do what I just said, where you said write me or write a program for average, and through Unity I could have it go through and write the program, and then I'd have to Google how to do it, but I'd have to copy it to the clipboard and then say, okay, it's now in the clipboard. Paste it into your Java. So I could write that. Adding tutorial. I think that's the one I did by voice. It'd be easy. That's the thing of it, is because that'd be kind of fun to do for next week in that class. Yeah, yeah. Write a program to write a program, and there's some more bizarre stuff, and I don't know why this is non-matching editor installation. I was having some problems with the laptop earlier. I restarted it, thinking that would fix everything, but maybe it's still having issues. This may not come up, but when you do any kind of screen design, and you haven't seen it yet, but like Visual Studio allows you to drop on text boxes, the same input boxes that we use in JavaScript where we have to program it through HTML. Through Visual Studio, you can drag and drop it on there. And when you drag and drop on it, you say, well, that's not writing a program. Well, it is, because there's a bunch of programming behind that does the screen design, but you don't have to worry about it. It makes it such okay, just drag this, drop this, and so forth. And that was a big worry way back when, is they were going to have these programs to replace all programmers, and that was 30 years ago. Still haven't replaced all programmers. So sometimes there's some sensational claims take a while to occur, but it has replaced screen design, has replaced some of those items. And this stupid thing's not going to come up. It looks like. Maybe I can get Visual Studio to come up. Because those of you who have never seen that before, you don't know what in the world I'm talking about. Visual Studio Community Code. That doesn't look like normal. Oh, it's still thinking. I'll see if that comes up. Yeah, I love reading about those nanobots. Just what they're doing with it and where it's headed and so forth. Um, Creating a robot that can travel through your body at the molecular level is too cool. Yeah, right. Yeah, it was about a year and a half ago. I had to. It would. I had a melanoma cut out a year and a half ago. Um, Boy, that wasn't very pleasant. And if you've ever had them cut skin off you, then you or any kind of surgery, because this was minor compared to what some people go through surgery wise. Um, then you think about the alternative and have a robot travel through your body and fix the issues. It's just like give me that robot any day. Yeah, you never know. Things like that might occur. Oh, this is just insane. It doesn't normally take this long to load. It's about like 2 minutes to load typically. I want to cancel it and try again. Okay, force quit. Okay. So maybe I clicked on Raw Unity. That's how fast it's supposed to come up. Still not there though. Okay, so I'm going to this adding tutorial. What I haven't figured out is why they haven't come up with robots to replace roofers. Um, yeah, yeah, that's just great. Yeah, I'm gonna have to take the laptop home and work with that. Oh well, I won't show it. But yeah, if you think about the people replacing roofing, does it really look like that takes that much thought? No. Very simple. A robot should be able to, peel off those uh, shingles and put new ones down, and do the. So maybe they're working on it. I don't know. We'll go ahead and stop there since my plan of showing you a Visual Studio bombed off. I'll have to figure out what's going on with my machine. Seems like every day something breaks. It'll get there eventually. Questions? Anything? Still trying. Um, well, I'll put that one test out for that one chapter that we went through completely, and there won't be any JavaScript programming project for this week. But we'll put out a programming project next week. That'll be your final project, and it'll be based upon that chapter that I skipped. And then we'll talk about object-oriented concepts, because that's just kind of a tricky one for brand new people in computer science. But we'll go ahead and stop there, and I'll stop the recording.